Hi, let's look at the homework problems for Chapter 9, starting with 9-2. We have a company that has 11% coupon bonds with a yield to maturity of 8%. They believe they could issue new bonds at par that would provide a similar yield to maturity and a marginal rate of 35%. What is their after-tax cost of debt? The formula for cost of debt is rate times 1 minus the tax rate. The rate that we would use is what we believe we could issue the debt at today. Therefore, we ignore the 11% coupon and focus on the yield to maturity of 8%. The formula would be 8% times 1 minus the marginal tax rate of 35%. As a percentage, our cost of debt is 5.2%. 9-6 is a bookstore that has a beta of 0.8. The yield on a 3-month T-bill is 4%, and the yield on a 10-year T-bond is 6%. The market risk premium is 5.5%, and the return on average stock in the market last year was 15%. What is the estimated cost of common equity using the CAPM model? Well, you'll remember that the formula for the estimated cost of common equity is the risk-free rate plus the market risk premium times beta. In this situation, the risk-free rate is equivalent to the yield on the 10-year T-bond. Therefore, it would be 0.06 times 0.055, which is the 5.5% risk premium, times the beta of 0.8. I'm sorry, that's a plus, not times there. So, as a percent, our cost of common equity is 10.4%. Now let's look at problem 9-7. This company's balance sheet shows $300 million in debt, $50 million in preferred stock, and $250 million in common equity. The tax rate is 40%. The rate on debt is 6%. The rate on preferred stock is 5.8%. And the rate on equity is 12%. If they have a target capital structure of 30% debt, 5% stock, and 65% common stock, what is the WACC? As a reminder, the WACC formula is the weighting times the required rate of return for each component of capital. Debt, the rate for the debt needs to be multiplied by 1 minus the tax rate. It's giving us some different information here. They're giving us the current balance sheet makeup, and then it's also giving us the target capital structure. We would use the target capital structure weightings in our WACC calculation. Therefore, WACC is going to equal the weighting for debt, which is 0.3, 30%, times the rate for debt, which is 6%, times 1 minus the marginal tax rate of 40%, plus the weight for preferred stock, which is 5%, times the rate for preferred stock, which is 5.8%, plus the weighting for common stock, which is 0.65%, times the rate for common stock, which is 12%. They're fixing my formula for me. And as a percentage, it would be 9.2%. 9.2% is the WACC for this corporation. Sometimes it's easier to write down the information that we know, such as RD equals 6%. The weight for debt is 30%. RPS for preferred stock is 5.8%, and the weighting for preferred stock is 5%. The rate for common stock is 12%, and the weight for common stock is 65%. Then you could just link to these percentages to avoid errors in your formula. Looking at problem 9-13, Messman Manufacturing will issue common stock to the public for $30. The expected dividend and growth in dividends are $3 per share and 5% respectively. If the flotation cost is 10% of the issue's gross proceeds, what is the cost of external equity? Using the dividend growth model, we would look at the formula rate, which is the cost of equity, equals D1 divided by the current price times 1 minus the flotation costs plus the growth rate. D1 is the expected dividend, not the current dividend. So in this situation, let's write down the information. D1 equals $3 is what we're expected to pay. The current price, P0, is $30. The flotation costs are 10%, and the growth rate is 5%. Therefore, our formula would be D1 divided by the price times, let's fix that, divided by the price times 1 minus 10% plus the growth rate of 5%. I'm going to put another set of parentheses here just to make sure that's right. And we have a cost of external equity, of 16.1% for this company. And finally, let's look at 9-15, a challenging question. On January 1st, the total market value of this company was $60 million. During the year, the company plans to raise and invest $30 million in new products. The firm's present market capital structure shown here is considered to be optimal. There is no short-term debt. Because this is considered to be optimal, we can assume that this is their target capital structure. New bonds will have an 8% coupon rate and they will be sold at par. Common stock is currently selling at $30 per share. The stockholders' required rate of return is estimated to be 12%, consisting of a dividend yield of 4% and an expected growth rate of 6%. The marginal tax rate is 40%. So what do we know? We know that the new bond coupon rate is 8%. The common stock current price is $30. The required rate of return on stock is 12%. The dividend yield on stock is 4%. The growth rate on stock is 8%. The next dividend is $1.20, and the marginal tax rate is 40%. So the first part of the question asks us, in order to maintain the present capital structure, how much of the new investment must be financed by common equity? Well, the current capital structure is equal to 30 million divided by the total. So 50% for debt and 50% for equity. Therefore, we know that our new investment is equal to $30 million, which is what they gave us here, times the percent for common equity is going to be $15 million. The next question asks us, assuming there is sufficient cash flow for the company to maintain its target capital structure without issuing additional shares of equity, what is its WACC? This means that they don't need to issue any new capital. So we can calculate the WACC based on the current information. Again, I've put the formula here. It's the weightings times the rate, and for debt, it's the rate times 1 minus the tax rate. So, in this situation, we don't have any preferred stock, so it would just be the debt and the common equity. Let's look at our information. We're going to take the weighting for debt, which is 50%, times the rate on debt. It would be the new bond coupon rate, because that's what we can issue it for today, times 1 minus the marginal tax rate, plus the rate on our common equity, so it would be the required rate of return, times our weighting, of common equity. Oops, I forgot a parentheses here. Order of operations, very important. So that gives us a WACC calculation of 8.4%. And the final question asks us to suppose that there's not enough internal cash flow and the firm must issue new shares of stock. Qualitatively speaking, what will happen to the WACC? No numbers are required to answer this question. So let's think about this. They have to issue new shares of stock. In doing so, the required rate of return on stock will increase because of the flotation costs. Therefore, the WACC will also increase. Without doing any calculations, we can assume that the WACC, the cost of capital, is going to increase because we are incurring additional costs to issue the new capital for the common shares that we will be issuing. Thank you.